Ancient Rome, the worst economic collapse in history. Introduction. Ancient Rome was one of the most powerful civilizations in history. At its height, the Roman Empire controlled a vast territory across Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. However, behind its military strength and wealth, Rome faced serious economic problems. Inflation, heavy taxation, political instability, declining trade, and repeated currency debasement gradually weakened the empire. This raises an important question. Was the economic collapse of ancient Rome the worst economic collapse in history? The Roman economy. The Roman economy depended heavily on agriculture, trade, taxation, slavery, and military expansion. Rome benefited from extensive trade routes connecting different parts of the Mediterranean world. Large cities such as Rome depended on grain and other resources brought from distant provinces. The empire's enormous size, however, was also expensive to maintain. The government needed huge amounts of money to pay soldiers, administer provinces, build infrastructure, and support the imperial bureaucracy. Currency crisis and inflation. One of Rome's biggest economic problems was the weakening of its currency. Roman emperors increasingly reduced the amount of precious metal in coins while keeping their face value. This process, known as debasement, helped governments pay their expenses in the short term. But as confidence in the currency declined, prices increased. By the 3rd century CE, the empire experienced severe inflation. The government repeatedly introduced new coins and attempted price controls, but these measures could not fully solve the underlying problems. Heavy taxes. As military and administrative costs increased, the Roman government placed greater pressure on taxpayers. Farmers and local communities faced growing tax demands. In some regions, economic hardship caused people to abandon land or become dependent on wealthy landowners. This contributed to increasing inequality and weakened parts of the traditional Roman economic system. Political and military problems. Economic decline did not happen in isolation. During the 3rd century CE, Rome experienced political instability, civil wars, invasions, and rapidly changing emperors. The empire had to spend more resources defending its borders. At the same time, political instability made long-term economic planning difficult. In some areas, warfare damaged agriculture, trade routes, and cities. The decline of trade. Rome's economy depended heavily on a network of roads, ports, and Mediterranean trade routes. As political instability and insecurity increased, some long-distance trade became more difficult and expensive. However, it is important to note that Roman trade did not simply disappear overnight. Many parts of the empire remained economically active for centuries, and some regions even prospered during periods when others declined. Was it the worst economic collapse in history? Calling Rome's economic crisis the worst in history is difficult. Other historical events such as the collapse of major civilizations, severe famines, and modern economic depressions caused enormous suffering and economic disruption. Rome's crisis was unusual because it developed over a long period and was closely connected with political, military, and social changes. The Western Roman Empire eventually collapsed in the 5th century CE, but the Eastern Roman Empire continued for nearly another 1,000 years. Therefore, the Roman economic crisis is better understood not as one sudden economic collapse, but as a long and complicated transformation. Conclusion. The economic problems of ancient Rome were caused by several interconnected factors: currency debasement, inflation, taxation, military expenses, political instability, and changes in trade and agriculture. Although it may not be accurate to call Rome's decline the worst economic collapse in history, it remains one of the most important examples of how economic problems can combine with political and military pressures to weaken a powerful state. The story of Rome shows that even the wealthiest and most powerful empires can become vulnerable when their economic foundations begin to fail.